Hey guys, this is going to be a review of The Madness Underneath by Maureen Johnson. My book doesn't have the dust jacket and it looks really dirty now. I don't know what got on it, but I left the dust jacket at home when I brought the book to school with me and I don't have it to show you. But this is the dust jacket of the third one, and then this one looks a lot like this, like the same sort of design, except it's like this sort of color. It's like really purpley and my favorite color, and I really love the cover. Actually, I just realized it's on the back. So it looks like this one here. I read the first book in the series last year, I think possibly August of last year, so a little more than a year ago, and I remembered most of it, but there is some stuff after reading this one where I feel like I need to go back and reread the first one to like see things again. And also I want to warn you before I get into the review, I started the third one the day before yesterday. I am that far into it, which is pretty far to be into the book when I'm just now reviewing the second one, but so I am a bit further than how this book ends, but I'm going to try and separate the two for the review. I was really curious about where this book would go after the first one because the storyline of the first one with the Ripper and everything was obviously kind of closed at the end of the first one, and so I was curious about where the story would go. Was not expecting some of the things in this book, but I really enjoyed it. It is a lot shorter than the third one. I have the first one at home again, so I can't compare the sizes of both of these in comparison to the first one, but I definitely think this is the shortest one of the series, which I also think is fitting because I definitely think in some ways it has like this second book syndrome sort of thing where it's definitely like a bridge between the first and third and whatnot, and kind of like just the middle. And so I kind of like that it's shorter, but for what it was, I did really enjoy this book. I don't think I typically hate second books a lot the way a lot of other people seem to, and I'm going to get into spoilers now. I'm going to avoid spoiling anything in this book in the entire video, but I am going to spoil some stuff in the second book, so if you haven't read it and don't want spoilers, then don't watch the rest of it. Okay, what I mentioned about not remembering exactly some of the stuff in the first book, I can't remember what I felt about Rory and Stephen in the first book. I did earlier on in this book. I couldn't remember. Obviously, I remembered the stuff between Rory and Jerome. I remembered who Jerome was. I remembered who Stephen was, obviously, but I couldn't remember anything happening between them, or there having been a point in the first book where I thought that they would have any potential to be a couple. When I started this one, I couldn't remember thinking that, and so I went into this book not thinking about Rory and Stephen being a possibility. But I mean, it's been more than a year since I read the first book, so I don't know if it did occur to me as a possibility when reading it and I'd just forgotten it, which is a big reason why I need to go back and reread the first book. Of course, stuff could stand out to me now that didn't stand out then. I should probably go back to my first review, like my review of the first book, but I feel like even if I suspected that Rory and Stephen were a possibility, I might not have mentioned it in my review. So I don't know if I did or not. But there was a point early on in this book where I saw it coming. I could tell that it was moving towards Rory and Stephen, and that's when I was like, wait, was this a thing in the first book or is this new? Because I remembered Rory and Jerome, but I did not remember anything with Rory and Stephen, but I actually really like them together. I feel a bit torn because I do like Jerome, but I think if I had to choose one of them for Rory to be with, I would choose Stephen. And I wish I could talk about stuff that I've read in the third book already, but I can't. But I don't know. I don't know. And then you have the further, because I said I was going to talk about spoilers, you have Stephen dying in this book, and that complicates things. Would definitely make a relationship with Jerome easier, but I don't know. I don't know. I think I want her with Stephen more, but I also like Jerome, and I would be okay with her ending up with Jerome. And I'm really, because like I said, I'm already reading this one, and I so want to get through this book to find out who she ends up with, and I don't want that to be the only reason I'm reading the book, and it's not the only reason I'm reading the book, but I'm not gonna lie and say there's not a huge motivating factor making me read this one faster, because I'm getting really into that part of the story. And Stephen dying at the end of the story, I did not see coming, did not think that was going to happen, and I'm very sad about it, because even though I've started this book, obviously I'm not even halfway through it yet, so I still have tons of questions that I still had at the end of this book. I have not yet been resolved in this book, and I have so many questions, especially around what happened with Stephen and what's going to happen. Like, I'm interested in the cult and everything too. Like, that was a very interesting plot twist, the inclusion of the cult, and I am interested in what happens with them and everything. But I really want to know how, like, because Rory and Stephen kissed for the first time, and then he dies almost immediately after, and I can't figure out how that whole thing is going to resolve itself even this far into this book. I can't figure out how that is going to be resolved, and I really, really want to read the rest of this book to find out. I think I've said everything I wanted to say, because mostly I do think that this book in a lot of ways is a bridge from the first book to this book, and I don't want to talk about stuff I've read in this book already, so I'm having to be really careful, because I have a lot of things that I already think about what I have read of this so far. And when I review this book, I will probably talk about all of those, and I will probably have a lot more to say just because it will be the conclusion and it's a bigger book, and I feel already like I already have more to say about this part than I had about this entire book, just because of the way that this did feel kind of like a bridge sort of thing. But I'm really, really enjoying this series, and I'm really excited to finish this one. And I will see you guys later. Bye.